Larry.
What would you prefer? Yes.
I have a question for you here.
Yes.
Why do you think they made the gun permit process so difficult here in New York City?
Yeah, all right, let me move to that piece then. He doesn't want me to talk about SafeBank anymore. I'll stop. I'll talk about that. SafeBank. All right, let me go to something else. And this is what I want to talk about, unifying. Look, I'm squarely with and behind localized government. There is no question Queens is not the same as Batavia, Buffalo's not the same as Watertown. I get that, and no worries. I'm okay with localized government. It's a good idea. But there should be some minimum buying standards. Minimum. What I mean by that, even though each county decides how it wants to give its permit, I'm okay with that. However, there should be a rule, no more than 90 days, period. No more 18 months, no more 2 years, no more 12 months. This should follow the same as it does many permits when it comes to building in this city. If your building permit isn't okayed with, I think it's 45 days, it's automatically approved. I want the same thing for firearms. If it's not approved in 90 days, it's approved, period. But as a second piece, there is no due diligence with this. So if some judge decides, no. Why? I don't like your hat. That's it. There's no due diligence. I want actual reasons why some judge says no, so there is due process and a way to appeal so we can understand what the problem is so that we can get our firearms. The reason why it is that way is because no governor has stood up to say there should be uniform standards for purchasing. Second piece, should be uniform standards for traveling and carrying your firearms. Now you travel, you bring your firearm to New York City, you're going to Rikers. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
You're going to Rikers. Again, that's embarrassing. We should be ashamed that that exists. We need uniform carrying regulation minimums. If your county wants to open it up, I'm fine with that. But the minimum should be, you can, as long as your firearm is legally owned, you should be able to carry it in any county in New York State as long as two things, locked and unloaded. If those two things are true, you should be able to bring your firearm anywhere. With the secondary piece, if you use your firearm, whether legal in that county or not, to help prevent a crime, there should be no prosecution. Yes, and if I am governor, when I become governor, I will enforce those three pieces to change our gun laws in New York State. Thank you.
Brother Larry, before you go, one more. What do you think about the NICS background checks?
Say again?
The NICS, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. What do you think about that?
I'm not against the background check at all, but there's a problem with that. I mean, I could talk forever on that. The problem with the background check is you can't add the mental illness piece.
Right.
The mental illness piece is a problem in New York State. Do you know if you're transgender, New York State says you're mentally ill? Do you know if you get in a car accident, I'm not joking, if you get into a car accident, right, and they pull you into an operating room, and you go, oh my God, I'm in so much pain, I want to kill myself, they have to report that. I'm not making this up. They have to report that, and now you're suicidal. You don't get guns anymore. So while conceptually I'm not against the background check, there are a lot of problems with the background check. It's not the way I'd like it to be.
All right.
So conceptually I'm okay with it, but there are some details we have to fix.
One more question. It's in question, and it would be in reference to the expungements.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is for members of our community who have had transgressions with the law.
Yep.
And they are 30 years clean, upstanding citizens, and they cannot have their cases expunged. What do you, as a potential governor, what do you plan on doing about that?
There are two issues here, and the first one is we have a problem in New York State where we don't have a justice system. We have a punishment system. And it's just about punishment, and that's all it's about. Punish, punish, punish. Here is my rule of thumb. Unless you have some illness, some problem, that in perpetuity makes you more likely to commit violence against others, and unless multiple doctors can say that is true and true now, why in the world are you being punished forever? No one should be punished in perpetuity for something that isn't a problem in perpetuity. It's just not fair, it's wrong, and it is by default cruel and unusual punishment, and therefore unconstitutional and un-American. Once you have paid your debt to society, whatever that is, whether that is 6 months in jail or 60 years in jail, whatever it is, once your time and your dues are paid, you should be a 100% full citizen with all of your rights reinstated, and as governor, I will make sure that happens.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to go, before we pass it on to Mr. Lateef, I want to commend you on your statement about Brother Bell. and about his release when you were asked
Yes.
what was your opinion about him being released. And
Yes.
I want to commend you, and I appreciate your heartfelt and honest answer in reference to
Absolutely.
that. I
People
appreciate
didn't like
that,
that, but it doesn't matter. I don't have to like it.
That was
you pay
beautiful.
Your dues, you pay your dues.
That was beautiful, brother. Thank you so much. Next up, we got Mr. Lateef Dickinson. He's from New Jersey Firearms Academy, and I'll let Mr. Lateef introduce himself, and he can go on and tell you what he's doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I run the New Jersey Firearms Academy. We're right on the other side of the Hudson River, probably about 15, 20 minutes from New York. And about 30%, 35% of the people that come and train with us and do our firearm courses are New Yorkers, because they want to come and get some firearms training before having to go through the New York pistol process. And technically, the law is, as long as you have a clean record and you are eligible to purchase a firearm, then we can do a temporary transfer of ownership, meaning you can come to the range and use our guns and shoot. So anyone here, you don't have to wait, like here in New York, you have to wait and go through the whole process before you can even handle a firearm. You know, you can just come right across New Jersey, and we'll run you through the NRA, the basic pistol program. We've got rifle, pistol, shotgun, competitive shooting. You know, we do a lot with the firearms. Myself, I've been teaching for over 25 years. I'm a master instructor both on the civilian side and on the law enforcement side. I'm a competitive shooter. I'm on the New Jersey pistol team. I'm a pistol coach. I compete every weekend somewhere. I compete at the national level. And I've got guys that I take to the nationals. If you want to get into competitive shooting and have fun with it, you know, you're in the right place. You know, I did IDPA, practical and defensive shooting for about a dozen years. And now I'm in competitive bullseye precision pistol, and having a really good time with it.
Brother Lateef, I would like, when we were at your academy in Jersey and you spoke to the class, you gave us a little brief history on blacks and gun ownership, and I would like to know, would you be able to go into a little bit, you know, just a little history of the blacks and gun ownership in America?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have been selectively excluded from American gun culture from the beginning. In fact, I teach a private investigator course, and last night I gave a homework assignment to my students that about the birth of a nation and Jim Crow and those sort of things. You know, the inception of the Ku Klux Klan. I asked my class, well, why did the Ku Klux Klan start? Right? They had a mission, right? Their mission was to keep blacks down because, you know, and that was their job. They're still alive and well to this day, you know, and their membership and their, you know, they're growing in membership. So, that being said, when I first moved to Jersey, because I'm from New York originally, I'm from the Bronx, and I moved to New York back in 97, 92, and I went right to the library and started reading up on the gun laws. And it did say on the books that, you know, blacks, you know, drunkards and Indians cannot own firearms. That was the law back, you know, then, as of, you know, within the century. And then, of course, it got amended, but, you know, that was part of that selective exclusion. When you look at hunting and camping and fishing and all the other types of activities that are part of the culture here, American gun culture, so call it, we've been excluded. The only thing you see about blacks and guns typically is going to be what's on the news, right? What's in your face from the media, which is always going to be something sensational. It's going to be, oh, that this, you know, somebody's 5-year-old got shot by a stray bullet in the playground, and they promote that and they have that in your face. So what do we think? Because, you know, in New York, they make it so hard. They make it such a hard process for you to own a firearm, okay, that most people are discouraged from it and don't feel that they have the right, right?
Yes, sir.
I have a student that got his permit, he had a problem. I called one police plaza, and they said, well, it's a privilege that we're allowing him to have a firearm so he cannot take his gun. Whereas one of my students, I'm taking him to Camp Perry in Ohio. And in New York, a pistol permit says you can only take your gun to a New York approved range. There aren't any New York approved ranges outside of New York. Now, since then we are, and we do the New York 47-hour security class, we've been approved to do that. But here you have the city telling you that you can't take your property outside of the city. There's something unconstitutional about that. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association actually lost that legal battle and needs to be reawakened, because there's no way that, and also the person saying that it's a privilege that we're allowing this person to have a firearm. That's the position, that's the attitude of New York,
Yes.
that for you to have a firearm, we'll decide whether or not we can allow you to have one. Right? But it's our right.
It's our right.
It's the Second Amendment right that we have to own and protect ourselves. They say when seconds count, the cops are just minutes away.
Isn't it the truth?
I'll tell you what, I'll take care of business first, I'll call 911 after.
That's right.
Okay? I'll take care of
Brother Lateef, I want to ask you, I've watched you work, and I see the different clientele that you bring to the range, and I saw your student yesterday. So what I wanted to ask you, what are some of the differences that you've observed with the, that stops the African American youth from getting into competition kind of events? What are some of the disparities, and what do you find are the limitations, and what stops them from getting involved with programs like that,
Yeah,
brother?
shooting.
Yes, sir.
Well, number one is going to be the availability and the support from the parents. You know, the kids that I have that come and train with me pretty much got a lot of support from the parents and from their family, and it's not, it doesn't have that stigma. You know, in most of our families, you know, they think about guns and the kids, and it's like, oh, you kind of shrink away from that. But when it's done properly, to me, it actually makes them safer, because what happens is when kids get in trouble with guns, it's a couple of things. Either they're gangbanging, right? You saw President Obama was crying about all the little children dying from gun violence every day in Chicago. Well, guess what? That child age goes up to 26, and that's the highest, you know, it's a gang problem, it's a drug problem. That these kids, yeah, they're shooting each other, but you know, don't be in a gang, don't do drugs. And then the other thing is when you introduce children to firearms young, it demystifies the gun, right? So now you have kids and, ooh, my daddy's got a shotgun, a rifle, ooh, they want to touch it. You know, I was that kid, right? My first gun was my grandmother's .22 revolver, and I looked under her mattress and, ooh, look at that, right? So to make the kids safer, you take them in the proper context, take them to the range, teach them gun safety, and where it is. And I'll tell you what, parents, kids get real bored with shooting real fast, all right? So out of 100 kids, we may have 1 or 2, and I have some students that, you know, Kumar, one of my instructors, he's now 23, 24 years old. He started, he was 16, and he's one of those rare kids that I would give him ammo on the gun and walk away and see what he does with it. He shoots up the ammo, come back for more ammo. They come back for more ammo. Right now, that boy can go into any agency as a firearms instructor. He's been with me for 9 years, right? You know, but it's you have to put them in front of that. Maybe he wants to do basketball. Maybe he wants to do this or that. What is he drawn to? The other thing that keeps kids out of shooting sports is when the parents give them too much stuff to do. I've had good kids that, you know, they're in church and they're in this and they're doing that and they do this and then they go to the range. It really takes a dedication.
Yes.
You know.
And one more question before I let you go, my brother. I know you've been on the front lines for quite some time in New Jersey. And what do you find the similarities between the stringent gun laws in New Jersey in comparison to New York, if you understand how I'm trying to ask that question?
The biggest thing with New York and New Jersey, and this is why I like to cross over with them, and the laws are fundamentally similar, because New York and New Jersey are what are called possessory states. The possession of the gun is the crime in New York and New Jersey. Once you get across the Delaware River, just because you're in possession of a gun does not mean necessarily that you're committing a crime, because you have the right to bear, and in most of those states, 40 of them, bear means carry. So you have the right to carry wherever you have the right to be in most of the rest of the country. But in New York, New Jersey, California, Illinois, there are about 11 states that the possession of the gun, so if you're in New York and you're in possession of a firearm, you don't have the New York permit, and they're going directly to or from the range, you've just committed a third-degree offense. In New Jersey, it's third degree. So that's a mandatory 42 months under the Graves Act, 3.5 years, mandatory. If you're in possession of a firearm, you're not going directly to a range, from your home to the range or something like this. And that is the main similarity between New York and New Jersey, that they see the possession of the gun in itself is the crime.
Did they change, my brother, the hollow points, the years you get for a hollow point bullet that you have in your magazine? Or can you explain
No, well,
that?
in New Jersey, that's like an add-on kind of thing. New York is real good at stacking charges on top of charges on top of charges.
Yeah, very good at that.
And if you don't have the funds for the legal representation that it's going to take to properly fight that stuff, you're going to wear it, or you're going to take whatever kind of plea that the prosecutor gives you. All right? So In New Jersey, at least, you're exempt. New York isn't bad with hollow points. But again, from the home to the range. And the same thing in New Jersey, you can have hollow points in your home. You can have them at the range and going directly to or from the range and home.